included Harvard, Virginia Allen, and also several articles in featured in CNN, in Al Jazeera, BBC, and NPR. داود وليد مدير تنفيذي لمنظمة كير، المجلس الأمريكي الإسلامي للعلاقات العامة، ناشط في المجال الاجتماعي والإعلامي والحقوقي في منطقة ديترويت، مساعد إمام في مسجد والي محمد، حاضر في عدة جامعات منها جامعة هارفارد وجامعات أخرى في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، له عدة مقالات في CNN والجزيرة والبي بي سي كما قلت، وهو ناشط في المجال الإعلامي. وإذا حبيتم كل مرة تسمعوا إذا في شيء عن المسلمين داود وليد دائما بالأخبار يعني on the news, he always there to respond for us. So thank you and we appreciate your time, Brother David.
أيها الإخوة السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي ليس كمثله شيء. أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. ثم أما بعد. Brothers in Islam, before I begin my talk, I would ask all of you to pause, or perhaps we can make a dua together for one of our community leaders right now who's very sick. A brother, for those of you who do not know him, Imam Mahdi Bray is the director of Mass Freedom Foundation, Muslim American Society Freedom Foundation. He's been a long-time advocate and worker for the Islamic movement in America for many, many years, for decades. He had a stroke this morning. He's in Fairfax Hospital. And last I heard, about an hour and a half ago, he's unconscious. We're not sure if he's going to make it. We asked Allah Azza wa Jalla, one of his names is Shafi. We asked Allah Azza wa Jalla to give him shifa, inshallah. May Allah Azza wa Jalla restore him to health, inshallah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give mercy and give patience to his family right now during this very difficult time. After this talk, there will be a brief translation into Arabic, and we will have questions and answers. This lecture, which our Sheikh advised me, was primarily for youth, but all of us can benefit. If we're not youth, at least many of us have children or grandchildren in which we can pass this message on to them. And today's topic is the dangers of extremes. What are they, how they are manifesting themselves, and how we should tell our youth when they come across extremes how to report those extremes. Al-irhab, wal-khulu, wal-unf are major problems right now that we Muslims face right now. 80 to 85%, in fact, of victims of terrorism and extremism worldwide are Muslims. If we saw what happened the other day, it was on Al Jazeera in Mosul. There was an attack against brothers in the masjid, min Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, suicide bomber, boom. Muslims kill at the masjid. We see this happening in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, Somalia, and a number of other countries in the Muslim world where we see on a regular basis that Muslims are subjected and victims of terrorism. So first, we would like to define terrorism, talk about the two ways they express themselves, then discuss, inshallah, the Islamic position against al-irhab, wal-ghulu, wal-'unf. And then we will discuss, inshallah, how to report these things. Al-irhab, or terrorism, and how it's expressed physically, or physical extremism. Violent extremism is that when any individual, group, or government intentionally targets and murders civilians or targets non-civilian population which is not actively engaged in combat. This is what we can say a basically agreed upon definition of terrorism. And terrorism these days is motivated by two primary things. A political motivation, which is non-religious, has nothing to do with ideology, where a group of people are occupied, or a group of people have some type of beef with their government, and they commit an act of terrorism against their government. For instance, in Greece, if you've seen in the news, there's a terrorism attack against the Greek government and also a Greek embassy. There was bombs sent to Greek embassy in Rome, and these people are called anarchists. They don't even believe in God. They're atheists, yet they committed terrorist attack. This is the majority of terrorism that happens worldwide. Then there's another type of terrorism that is based upon ideology, or we can say religious misunderstanding. And much of the terrorism that goes on that Muslims are victims of has to do with ideological motivations. It's not strictly because of occupation or political grievance. Some of it has to do with ideology. And I know I talk to some people, I go to different cities around the country, and I speak to some brothers and they say, oh, a Muslim would never blow themselves up in a masjid. A Muslim would never kill other Muslims. But in Islamic history, we do have history of terrorists. And these terrorists call themselves Ahlu Haqq wa Istiqama, but we know them as Khawarij, as Al-Khawarij. When the third Khalifa, Uthman ibn Affan, was in government, there were a group of people, Muslims, who rose out of Egypt and assassinated the Khalifa. The fourth Khalifa, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, karramallahu wajhahu wa radiyallahu anhu, he was killed by Khawarij. So we do have this history of people targeting and committing violence against people who are Muslims, and this has happened going from this time of Khawarij into the Khilafah of the Abbasiyin and on throughout history, where we have seen different groups of extremist Muslims target and kill other Muslims because of incorrect ideology, because of false ideology. Now, let me get direct to the point, and I'm mentioning Khawarij and what goes on regarding victims, Muslims being victims of assassination back in those old times, in times of Sahaba and Tabi'een, up until modern times. What some people have done is that they declare a Muslim a kafir, or the other word is murtad. Murtad means apostate, someone who left Islam. And once these people say that a Muslim changes to murtad, then they feel that they have the haqq or the right to kill that Muslim firstly. This is what Khawarij did with Uthman ibn Affan and Ali ibn Abi Talib. And some of the other Sahaba and Tabi'een and others who were takfir was labeled upon them, meaning that they were disbelievers. So there are two things that are going on